You've seen bees drifting between flowers countless times, tiny bodies moving through golden sunlight, wings vibrating so fast they blur into invisibility. But you've probably never noticed something strange. Most of what guides a bee's life isn't visible, and it isn't even something we can hear. So what are bees listening to that humans never notice? The answer begins inside a place that seems almost silent. Deep within a dark hive chamber, thousands of bees move across glowing honeycomb. To us, it sounds like a simple buzz, but that only explains part of it. Because researchers discovered that a hive is filled with signals constantly moving through wax, wood, air, and living bodies. Signals carrying information, warnings, instructions, even decisions. And that's where things become unsettling. Bees don't experience silence the way we do. They live inside a world of vibrations. Tiny pulses travel through the honeycomb beneath their feet. A worker bee can detect these vibrations using specialized sensory organs located in her legs. To a human, the comb looks still. To a bee, it may feel like an entire conversation. And this changes everything. Because while humans depend heavily on sight, bees often rely on signals that never become images at all. They feel information, almost like listening through the ground. But this goes deeper. One of the most remarkable examples happens when a bee discovers a rich source of nectar. You may have heard of the famous waggle dance. A returning forager begins vibrating her body while moving in precise patterns across the comb. Scientists once believed other bees were simply watching. The stranger part came next. Researchers found that the dance also creates vibration patterns that spread through the hive itself. The message isn't only being seen, it's being felt. Direction, distance, opportunity, information flowing through an invisible network. And suddenly, the hive starts looking less like a collection of insects and more like something else entirely. A society, a system, a mind. But the hive was hiding something else. When danger approaches, bees can detect subtle changes long before humans recognize anything unusual. A storm forming miles away, wind patterns shifting, pressure changing, flowers responding to environmental stress. The signals are incredibly small, yet thousands of bees respond together. Almost nobody notices this part. No single bee understands the entire situation. No leader gathers everyone for a meeting. No voice announces a plan. Yet somehow the colony adapts. And that raises a disturbing question. How often do humans assume intelligence requires control? Because inside a hive, intelligence emerges from connection, not command. And perhaps that's why the system works. Each bee listens to tiny signals. The colony listens to all of them. But this isn't really about bees. It's about something humans struggle with every day: belonging. Most people imagine influence as something loud. The strongest leader, the most confident speaker, the biggest personality in the room. But hives operate differently. The signals that matter most are often the quietest. A vibration, a subtle shift, a nearly invisible cue. And the individuals paying attention to those signals often help the entire colony survive. What scientists discovered next surprised everyone. Certain vibrations inside the hive can influence worker behavior, not through force, not through punishment, but through communication. Tiny signals shaping collective action. And suddenly the hive begins to resemble something familiar. Human groups, families, companies, communities, entire societies, all built on signals people rarely notice. Trust, attention, belief, fear, confidence. These forces spread quietly, yet they can influence thousands, sometimes millions. The remarkable thing is that most individuals don't even realize it's happening. Just as a bee doesn't stop to analyze every vibration beneath her feet, she responds, she adapts, she becomes part of something larger. And that's where the story takes another turn. Because not every signal inside a hive is about opportunity. Some are warnings. When a colony experiences stress, communication patterns change. The hive grows louder, more active, more alert. The signals shift before visible problems appear. In other words, the colony often senses trouble before it fully understands the source. Humans do something similar. Groups frequently feel tension before they can explain it. Families sense distance before conflict erupts. Organizations detect instability before collapse becomes obvious. Communities recognize anxiety before anyone speaks it aloud. The signals arrive first. The explanation comes later. And perhaps that's why bees are so fascinating. Not because they are different from us, but because they reveal something we often forget. Life is full of information that never announces itself. The most important messages rarely arrive with certainty. They arrive as patterns, feelings, subtle changes, tiny signals waiting to be noticed. As the sun begins to disappear behind distant fields, thousands of bees return home. Their wings vibrate. The honeycomb hums softly beneath them. Information continues moving through the darkness. A hidden conversation that has been happening for millions of years. Most humans will never hear it. Yet somehow, its lesson feels familiar. Because every society depends on signals. Every relationship depends on signals. Every community depends on signals. And sometimes, the difference between thriving and failing comes down to a simple question. Are we paying attention to what everyone else ignores? Subscribe before you leave, because some of the most intelligent systems on Earth are operating around us every day. And most people never realize they're watching them. And here's something worth thinking about. What signal in your own life have you been hearing all along, but never truly noticed?